Welcome, everyone. It's just a pleasure to see everyone turned out. As we were talking to some of the class of 1965 and 66 who were in here decorating earlier to get ready for tomorrow night, we said that we started on this almost 2 years ago, and I'm certainly very happy with the committee that helped put this together, and I'll be mentioning them in a little bit. But to see this good turnout from our class of 64, could we believe that at this point, 50 years ago, we would have been thinking about a reunion in 50 years? Probably not. I want to read this a couple, 3 paragraphs. This is Dr. Maya Angelou. She just passed away. She's a poet, and I thought it was very appropriate for our group and for tonight to kind of start things off. And you probably saw on the news that this book is by Willard Scott, and everybody's heard of Willard Scott. It's just got lots of writings in it. Getting older means having a more than usual acquaintance with strange aches and pains and muscles and joints that I knew I've never had. Getting older means having people call me ma'am, even some who I suspect are older than I. Getting older means finding oneself funnier than anyone else in the world and taking the license to laugh out loud at one's own jokes. Getting older means having stories to tell on any subject, telling them to anyone who listen, including one's own self. Getting older is having the wisdom to know that one really knows very little. Getting older means having shorter breath, but being longer-winded. Getting older means being able to afford rich foods, which we once yearned for in younger days, but we now find indigestible. Getting older means saying goodbye to beloveds too frequently and too painfully. Yes, to all the above, but please do what I am going to do. That is, if you have the chance to get older, do so. Okay, let's finish this here, and Donna, or is it Jackie? Jackie and Susie are going to do the memorial. Most of the class that you see in that picture are here and present. There's 4 that are not. So it needs to be straight. So whenever those ladies are ready, we are ready for this part of it.
Danny Weber, he was the son of Al and Erling Weber, and he actually started attending Baybridge during his 2nd grade. And he came from an Indianapolis school, number 44. Now, when I knew Danny the first time, he lived out of Brick Chapel. I didn't know if he lived anywhere before that, not in Putnam County. And I do know that Danny was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, and that he attended Brick Chapel Church. Now, during his high school, he really did a lot of things. He had a lot of special talents. He was a class officer in the 9th grade. He was in the operetta the junior year. He was on our annual staff the senior year. Our all-school play, junior and senior. He was in the speech contest his sophomore, junior, and senior year. And he was in the thespian group for his sophomore, junior, and senior year. And also, he was in the pep club, the band, and the Latin club for all 4 years. A lot of us remember his musical talent that he had. And after graduation, he attended Indiana University, and he graduated with a major in music. during 1968 and 1969. And then after that, I think he wanted to go into acting, but we do know that he did go out to the West Coast, and he owned and he operated a tanning and toning business. At our 30th reunion, I think we were all over at Park County 4-H grounds, and Alan had it set up where we would all talk to him on the speakerphone. And at that time, he was in the hospital. So I remember the conversation, and Kathy does, and I'm sure some of you others do too. But he was in really good spirits, although he was really sick. And I remember him talking to me about some of the good times that we had when we were at her chapel, because I lived down there for a couple of years too. And he brought back some memories to me that I had forgotten. He was real involved, and I was too, in that youth group at her chapel church. And we did a lot of activities on Sunday night, and we liked to play baseball. So Danny and I thought that we would get to be better baseball players. So we were practicing one day out beside my grandma's house, and he really did hit that ball. And he hit me so hard in the face that we both thought that it broke my nose. But luckily he didn't. But I have a lot of good memories about Danny. And then it was just a short time afterwards that he did pass away. Now, I have a picture of Danny, and I'm sure we all exchanged pictures with each other. And one of the things he wrote on this was, remember all the fun that we used to have. And I think if Danny was here with us tonight, he probably have that to say to us. Just remember all of the fun that we had. And I think that's why we're all gathered together, just to reminisce. So Danny was a good friend of mine and a good friend of yours as well. Now then, I'd like to talk about Tom Lashley. In fact, I called and talked to the sister-in-law last night about Tom, and I found out some things that I didn't know about. He was born in Martinsville to Fred and Florence Lashley, and he actually started school in Ladota. And then his family moved to New Maysville near a family farm, and I believe it was a dairy farm. And then at that time, he started Bainbridge in the 4th grade. So he was with us at Bainbridge from the 4th grade on. Now, while in high school, Tom played basketball his freshman year. And as a senior, he was in the pep club, and he served on the annual staff. But for 4 years, he was in the FFA and on judging teams. And he was also an officer in the FFA. And after graduation, he went ahead and furthered his schooling. And I thought this was interesting in computer training, because when we were in school, we had no computers. But he went ahead and did that, and Donna told me that he became very involved in the IT work in the departments at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And then later on, he went to work at Lincoln Life. Tom died in 1995, and he was survived by his son, Rod Lashley. And now I understand that Rod, his son, has 2 sons. And I was trying to think something to remember Tom by, and the first thing that came to my mind was that he always had this blue FFA jacket on. He wore it all of the time, plus a lot of you other fellows too. But whenever I think of Tom, I just have that vision of him sitting in front of me with that blue jacket on.
Well, Susie got me into this mess. My dad was in the hospital when we started having a committee for these. And Susie called me and said, could you help me with it? And I said, yeah. So then she's like, oh, would you do this? Would you do that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem, no problem. So then she gets to feeling guilty. She calls me back, oh, Jackie, I'm sorry. I feel so guilty that I'm having you do everything since I'm the one that volunteered. And I'm like, no problem. Well, guess what? At 9:30 last night, Susie calls me. And I'm like, oh, Susie doesn't stay up late. I mean, I thought she went to bed that night. Something. My sister's out of the state. My aunt doesn't call me at 9:30 at night. Who could it be? It's Susie. Guess what? She's like, do you think we ought to say something about the people in their middle? I'm like, yeah, probably. And I was just going to say a few words. She has done some research on that. I did not do any research on mine. This is just what I can remember, and that's not much. But anyway, we have to thank Susie's husband for the memory trees. Ralph did that after we talked, and Susie's like, yeah, we'll get it together. So Ralph made this, and we met at the Y, and he showed it to me, and we met several times back and forth. So then we needed the picture. Gary has loaded the pictures up, and then we're like, oh, we need the sponsor's picture. Oh, we don't have it. Oh, here, Gary, did you make some more, get these pictures? We need 4x6s. Okay, we'll get some pictures. So we get those tonight. So then Susie's like, okay, what can I do? I'm like, okay. She says, I'll get the roses. So, of course, the 4 roses are in memory of our classmates. And then the pointer dog, of course, we all know the story of this, and I'm not going to bore you with that because it includes me. But that's okay. But she did a wonderful job getting the pictures together, and the little cards. So we've all 8 of us, and everybody else included, has thrown in pieces and put this whole thing together. So it didn't take just one person. It took all of us. And we are so glad that everybody is here. We were hoping there would be a few more that decided not to come. That's also another story. Anyway, we did have fun getting together, just the 8 of us. Susie and I amongst the guys. It was fun. It was fun. We really did have a good time. So I'm speaking about Anna Osborne O'Hare. O'Hare. I looked at Marilyn. Okay, Anna Osborne Applegate. And we started in first grade. There was 12 of us that started, and also the same 12 that completed, graduated together. And Anna was one of those. So was John and Dan. Anna passed away in 1996. Her and I and Donna all lived in the same neighborhood on the southwest side of Bainbridge. Grew up there within like a couple blocks of each other. Yes. And so we knew each other and were friends off and on through school, all through school. And then Anna never learned to drive because she had the nervous eye and she just never learned to drive. So she was in Pep Club and FHA for 4 years, and she was in 4-H. She was a smart girl. She was a fun girl, but she was the kind that never thought that she was smart, never thought that she was fun, open, she was kind of shy and everything. But I've been to her house many, many times and had lots of good times. She worked in Indianapolis for an insurance company, and by her not driving, she rode to work with her dad every day. And then when he retired, she ended up quitting work up there. I think she lived with somebody for a while. But then she got married, moved to Greencastle, and they had a daughter and a son, and then they divorced. And then by her not driving, everybody knows where the old Kroger store is when you go into town. She lived in the trailers over there, and she walked uptown to the Goodwill store and worked 5 days a week. So you think you can't do it or you can't. That's the way she was. She didn't depend on people all the time to take her places. She was right there huffing it all the time, up and down those hills. Let's see. I guess that's about all I have. Oh, she does have one sister, Charlotte, which But like I say, we had a lot of good times together. And I know a lot of the girls, of course, remember her. So we're like with her. And then John McMurtry. Of course, the girls know the girls in school, and the guys don't know the guys real well. The guys know the guys, the girls know the girls. Until you get older, then you appreciate it more, unless you take one. John, I don't know, Alan, do you know what year he might have come out there in Winchester or around about there? Same time you did, or? No, wait a minute.
John.
He was in, I think he started out, he did, he started
out with
He
you.
started out with us.
And then it was Rochet.
Okay.
Or Barker.
Yeah, Marner. He was an FFA officer his senior year, and he was also in the pep club. And he also participated in the judging team junior and senior year. He farmed, and I don't remember his dad at all, but his mother was a school teacher, elementary, for several years. And then when he had bought a place out here, well, in fact, it's across from where I live, that farm out there. I don't know how many acres. But I know the guys hung out with John, and you see John up here, you go to get gas, and there be John, But John was just John. Just slow, hi, how are you, how's it been? He wasn't much of a talker, but he was a good person. And when you got to know him, he was a smart person, too. So he also built grain bins, the kind you climb, way up high. I can't imagine John doing that or anybody else, but somebody has to, I guess. And he had one brother and two sisters, and then his nephew now, I don't know if he owns the farm, how he got him, but anyway, his nephew has the cross there. But, and John was also not big on these group things, I think he might have been, maybe to one and that. But he passed away of diabetes. So we want to remember John. If we could now just have a short, silent moment for those four people that we miss and wish were here with us. And then let's all just have a silent prayer for them. And then I'll say amen, and then we'll go on to the next thing. Amen. Thank you for that. I almost forgot until Lyle reminded me. These little booklets that we passed around. The last bark that our class put together, I happen to have one. And at one of our meetings, Lyle was like, "Did you save everything?" Well, not quite, because I have 4 albums that have a lot of basketball stuff in them. I took crayons to do pictures and do basketballs, and they're all paper scrapbooks. But they're falling apart so bad, if I brought them, they'd all just kind of fall apart. But we looked through some of those, and so Gary and I were on the committee to kind of update this. So your parents' picture, we realized, is not the clearest and the best. But we didn't have any photo paper. We just had the lavender, so that's why it didn't come out real plain. But of course, if it wasn't for our parents, none of us would be here. So that's kind of what it's about. And then as you look inside, a lot of this is printed from the bark. Just memory, good time memory stuff. And then back in 1964 is when the Mustang came out. So before one of our meetings, I noticed it on TV and I saw it in the banner. They have a little pamphlet in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, a 1964 Mustang, that's the year we graduated. So I told Gary, I said, you guys got to find a picture of Mustang. We got to put that in here. So Gary found one on the computer, and then I had torn one out of a magazine for Alan. So that's why we threw that in there. So some things have changed. And then I think all the addresses except, let's see, did we get Maryland's changed? Maryland's may be different in your in the back of your pamphlet. What is it, Maryland? 29 South Fawn. Yeah, right. South Fawn Drive. South Fawn Drive. Yeah. Okay. Fawn. F-A-W-N. So that's the only one that's changed. And then also in here we mentioned Ronnie Dove, who attended with us through school, but he didn't graduate with us. and then we want also Johnny Mason. So we didn't forget them, we just decided that you started school and you graduated with us, that's why we had a memory tree for them. And then also the sponsors, which we all, of course, remember all the good times with them. So, and the last thing, Alan, where are the military pictures? Okay. This is what we decided to do. Some of us didn't, once you get out of school and you go your own merry way, whether it's service or married or move away or you're still here or whatever, you don't keep in touch with everybody. So a lot of us at the meeting didn't even know who went to service, what service you were in, or anything. So Alan, and like I said, the guys did this computer stuff, which I do none of that. So if we like for the Bill Hauser for you to stand up and tell us what service you were in and what your rank was, or your little bit about. And then Carl will go next.
I was in the Air Force as a captain, 1972 to 74, and I was at Spokane, Washington, SAC base, and in Guam for 3 months. And I was a physician.
Wasn't cool. Well, no, I think it's a manly thing that guys that serve in the country and fight for us, and the rest of your men too. Don't get me wrong.
What?
People played volleyball.
Played volleyball.
Played volleyball.
And I was a captain.
Okay, Carl.
I was in the Air Force from 69 to 73. I was staff sergeant, and most of the time I spent in Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. I was a veterinary technician was the term. We were mostly food inspectors, and we took care of the vets on base and off base.
Thank you. Okay, who's next? John's not here.
Don served in Vietnam and in an engineering division. And Donald McInnes had to leave. He was here briefly. And Donald served in Vietnam twice and Cambodia. And I think he was awarded a, well, I don't know, Bronze Star? Silver Star. Silver Star, which is about up to the Medal of Honor. Yeah, third one. So Donald served several years in the Army. And Lyle, you're here.
Well,
Yeah, I went in 1966, and they sent me to a carrier for 2 years off the coast of Vietnam, and then I spent my last 2 years at the squadron in Corpus Christi, Texas, and got out in 1970. And I decided that I still liked the Navy, so I went back in 84 in the reserves, and I retired in 2000 for 21 years total.
thank you.
There's a lot of stripes on there. What is that, right?
Chief Petty Officer.
Ken?
Kenny's here.
Word. Stand up. Oh, all right. Getting old.
Yeah, I went in the Marine Corps in 1966 for the sole purpose of going to Vietnam. And the Marine Corps, you spent 13 months in Vietnam, and some other branches, I believe they spent 12. But I went to boot camp out in San Diego, California, and then I was an infantryman, 0311 MOS, and 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, 3rd Marine Division. And yeah, I do have to salute Mr. Hauser, Dr. Hauser. He was a captain, and I'm the corporal. But anyway, I like the Marines. I really did, and I enjoyed serving the country. And little known fact, everybody's got different stories. But my story, and I was in the jungle, combat. My story is we would go into villages, the South Vietnamese, the children, and the women were the only people left. The men had all been killed or recruited by the communists. And I used to carry Barbie dolls. My mom would send me Barbie dolls, and I'd carry them, and I would hand them out. to girls, and they had never ever seen a doll. They had cardboard on